And that's the last time I try and tickle a great white shark, I'll tell you that much.
And welcome to the Beard, the Brain, the Brawn. This week's episode, we're kind of missing the brawn, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I could step in and fill the plate, be the brain and the brawn.
Indeed.
How's it going, dude?
Oh, I can't complain. It's good to be back.
I know it's been too long since we've done this.
It has.
Last time we did a prelude to this season of Game of Thrones, and now we're at the season finale.
Wow, it has been that long,
It's
hasn't
been
it?
that long.
Whew, we're slacking.
Totally slacking.
It honestly, not that, up until the last episode or two, not that great of a season, in my opinion.
It was interesting. I mean, as a book reader, we're now getting to the point where the books no longer matter. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could read the books, you could know everything about them, but we have no idea where we're going.
Yeah.
And we know that we're probably going to get to the same ending, but how we're getting there is totally different.
We had totally different paths.
So just to let you guys know, this episode, we will be spoiling the heck out of Game of Thrones, episodes 1 through 9
of this season.
Kind of going over through our highlights of our best episodes, worst episodes, things like that. So if you love Game of Thrones and are caught up, we're doing both book and
show spoilers.
Show spoilers. So, Andy, you want to take it away with some of it, maybe your high points of the season so far?
Pretty pumped. A lot of bands have been doing cameos on Game of Thrones. I think Coldplay or somebody did the Red Wedding, and metal band Mastodon were some of the wildlings in the Hard Home episode. And then they were obviously killed and brought back. But yeah, that's Mastodon. So if you saw a dude that was a ginormous red-haired guy that wasn't Tormund, that was the lead singer Mastodon. So it was pretty rad. Like that whole last 20-minute battle scene. I think I was sitting on about an inch of my chair. Once the snow started, it got dark.
Okay, so we're actually talking about the
Hard Home.
Right, so episode 8.
Yeah. I think that's the highlight of the season so far for me. Although I'm sure you guys will bring something up and I'm like, oh yeah, that was legit too. But that when it started snowing and it got dark, I was like, could it be? And then the others and the White Walkers and whatnot, they all showed up, and then that was like the best 20 minutes of television.
I really like that. I think that is the high point of the season. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously we still have episode 10, which is going to be crazy.
Should be pretty good.
It's going to be crazy. It's not going to be like most 10s where it's just kind of, normally we have episodes 1 through 8, they do their stuff. Episode 9 is the big climax.
Just bonkers.
And then we have episode 10 kind of as, all right, we're going to slow down a little bit, but give you what's coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
And they
changed the formula this year a bit,
which I think is good. I mean, I think not keeping it the same will just make things a lot better.
Yeah, not stagnant.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to always be like, all right, now we have to wait for episode 9 before we get something awesome.
Right. Yeah, they definitely dropped the hammer on the Hard Home app. That was just so crazy. And it's interesting too, because you had the Night's King and he kind of had the come at me bro, which became memified pretty quickly. We got 1-1, the giant. I love 1-1, Wegdar 1. He's awesome. Hopefully we'll see some of his more popular scenes from the stories.
And all their budget went to that.
Oh, had to.
Well,
I mean, and then the dragon scene at the fighting pits on Sunday with Drogon, that had to be pretty crazy.
That
CGI wise.
So let's start with going through some of the characters. Currently, Cersei's whole thing this season is she's climax on power. So she has everything,
mm-hmm.
and everything just gets taken away from her, and she gets thrown in jail.
Well, it's classic Cersei. No one thinks Cersei is as smart and capable as Cersei does. In the books, they make a bigger deal out of it because you kind of get her internal monologue. But yeah, she thinks she's the cleverest, the most well fit to rule and whatnot, and that everybody else is just discriminating against her of sorts. But really, she's just a crazy person that's got low grade cleverness or whatever. Tywin said to Tyrion, he's like, you're just like low clever. But it's interesting that she brought the Faith Militant back, the Stars and Swords or whatever they call them in the show. And then it totally backfired on her. And I thought it was going to happen when they had that initial trial scene a couple eps back. And then it took an ep or two for it to happen. But I think her arc is finally going to get interesting again. Because I believe they're going to follow the books fairly well on her business.
I think so. I mean, as far as we know, she's the only storyline that's pretty much stayed consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, yeah, she's the only one.
Yeah.
She was getting beaten with wooden spoons by, the Septas, which was
just getting whooped.
Which was pretty good. I mean, she deserves it, but she's one of those characters. It's like a love-hate relationship. You hate her. You think she's the worst person alive. She should be burned for us. But the same thing is, like, could you see the show without her?
Oh, no. Lena Headey does a fantastic job. And I probably said her name wrong. But that lady is great. I've liked her in Terminator when she's Sarah Connor. In Sarah Connor Chronicles. Liked her in 300. Just a big fan of hers. She's a character. And if you guys do Instagram, you need to follow her.
I mean, yeah.
They have a lot of good behind-the-scenes shots.
I mean, even in the book, it's like, I'm always looking forward to reading her story because it's interesting.
It's going to be crazy.
It is because she has some scheme that she's going to try to implement that usually doesn't go her way, and you just get to see it just burn her so bad. And it's just fun to watch.
Oh, it's the best. And she does it with flair. Excuse me. You don't agree with what she's doing, but she does it with flair. She does it well. It's that low cunning. That's what I was looking for. But it's interesting. It's going to be curious to see how they do her cardio. Well, I guess we're doing spoilers, how she does the walk or whatever.
Which should be next episode.
Because it's this season.
Because it happened.
Yeah.
And this is the last episode.
And that was the big thing that you guys might not know about. They were shooting that in Croatia or somewhere in Europe, and they almost couldn't get the rights to shoot it because it starts in a church or whatnot, and they couldn't have a naked person in the church. There's some big deal where they had to get it was like they worked it out. It was in the news.
At some point, I think it was that they weren't allowed to have anyone naked in the city.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was. The entire city was banned from, being publicly.
And then didn't they build a different church or something on their own or do something? It was some loop that they found a loophole, and that's how they could film it. But I mean, that's a massive thing for her arc. And then obviously Kevin Lannister and whatnot. I think he's going to have some digestive issues this season. Kevin will. But they got to do that scene.
Well, I mean, that's the next episode. Like I said, this episode has a lot of content that needs to be filled. I mean, yes, they could push it on, but they've built up this entire season. They built up to these points that are still in the books that are left that have to come this episode. If they don't, it's going to be kind of a pitfall or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I was reading an article that was talking about how the people that are left in Game of Thrones are either they're not the pure evil and they're not the pure good.
Well, you could argue that Ramsay Bolton is pretty pure evil.
Well, that they're the people who die. We've only seen Ramsay for a couple of seasons. I mean, I guess he came in season 2, but they don't last long. I mean, Joffrey lasted 4 seasons, and he was the evil of evil too.
Yeah.
So these guys are getting their ends.
Got to be soon.
So maybe next episode.
I honestly think Sansa's going to murk him.
I think so too.
Especially now that she heard that business with her brothers are still alive, and that he specifically lied to her at that dinner just to cause her and Theon both pain. And I'm not saying Theon was a good dude. He made some pretty serious errors. But I'm pumped to see Sansa become like Lady Vengeance. I'm interested to see how Ramsay goes out. And I love that guy that plays him. He was on a BBC show called Misfits. And that's a fantastic show you should watch, everybody. I think it was BBC. It was some British channel. Maybe it was Channel 4. But Misfits was 2 or 3 seasons. It was fantastic. Check it out.
You know what you just said?
What?
You called her Lady Vengeance.
Yeah.
Do you?
Japanese movie.
And I understand. But I've been talking to you off air about how these characters from the books aren't showing up in this series, but I think they're being blended into other characters.
You thinking Stoneheart to an extent?
I'm thinking Stoneheart. Ooh. That she's, instead of having, a dead, spoilers, Caitlin
Zombie
Stark.
Mom. Yeah.
Instead of having her, which, they may still put her in, maybe, but using her in Sansa. Sansa's is now the vengeance.
I could see that. Family. I could see that. Her and her younger sister.
I mean, going into more of this. I guess we can kind of explain more of what characters from the books aren't in the show, but are probably represented as other characters.
Well, Sir Friendzone took what's his name spot to an extent. Took Barristan the Bold's when he got murked, which wasn't really supposed to happen yet.
Who?
Sir Friendzone, Jorah.
Oh,
I call
Jorah.
Him Sir Friendzone.
See,
they kind of melded them together, and then he also melded with John Connington. I think Connington's supposed to have grayscale.
I would definitely agree with you. I think John Connington and Jorah combine characters, and we'll see what happens maybe in the next episode of if he kind of mixes with Barristan. I almost think that Barristan mixed with Tyrion.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that to an extent because he's definitely doing that with Tyrion being her advisor, and I'm very pleased that Tyrion is her advisor. And I assume the books will do that. I'd love to see that. Those scenes are actually my favorite. Her. And
I
him.
think we're on the road to seeing that. Obviously, since we haven't seen the last episode, I'm not going to go into any spoilers that haven't come up on the show that are also in the books. But I think we're getting to the point where that's the same road they're following.
Yeah.
They just speed it up a little bit, which is fine. You know, I understand that they're on a budget. They can't hire every single actor to be different people. So I understand what they're doing. They're combining characters. We're just going to have to live with that, especially if we are true diehard book lovers. We're just going to have to deal with it.
Here's my question. Do you think they're going to do Daenerys' final scene from book 5 tomorrow or Sunday?
Ooh, I think they're going to leave. I think that'll be the ending. I think
that'd be a fantastic endpoint. Or Jon's event, if they do that. If the wall comes to a point.
Sometimes I mean that's built up, and that's another big thing that's going to happen this episode. Like I said, how many times have we said that has to be in this episode? That has to be an episode.
There's like 10 things,
and these are things that should last at least 10 minutes long.
I don't know how they're going to do it.
I mean, Jon's is a big event.
You got Jon, you got Daenerys and Tyrion, you have Arya's beat thing,
which we haven't got to Arya, but yeah,
so they might not even do that.
We have Cersei's
business, which will be 10 minutes.
We have to know what happens to Daenerys' companions. I mean, some sort of follow up.
The Myrmidon's not, yeah.
And then who else do we have? Sansa's story, obviously. Because the North, you have Jon Snow's story, you have Stannis' story, and you have Ramsay's and Sansa's story, and Stannis and Sansa's are coming together. So it's definitely going to be a big episode. Let's talk a little bit about Arya.
That's interesting that they brought what's his name back. Although, is it really him? Is it Jaqen? I don't know. Maybe it's just a face. But it's very interesting that they had him take over the kindly man's role. Because right in the books, Jaqen's doing something completely different.
Right, he's somewhere off in Old Town.
He's at the Citadel.
So there's a lot of things that have changed. We're just like, are they ever going to get to it? We've seen hints that they might get to some things, but not others. I know that's very cryptic, but I don't want to also spoil things for you guys.
Yeah, because there'd be some big deals going on with all that.
Let's see. So Arya's interesting. We just saw her, mercy kill some people. And now she's being assigned to actually go out and kill people, not just the mercy kill. So that's going to be very interesting, especially with Miriam Trant, which, there's been a lot of criticism over this season because they think that maybe Game of Thrones have gone a little bit too far in some episodes. You had, Sansa, rape scene and everything like that. You had, last week's episode where Stannis' daughter Shireen got burned alive.
Which was a game changer.
You have Miriam Trant, who's now into little girls, and that's a
full-on pedophile. I don't recall that from the books.
I don't remember that at all either.
Maybe they're just trying to remind you that he's just like a huge D-bag.
I think so. And we have to remember that in this day and age, that's very unacceptable. In the age of the medieval times where this point is, that this was an everyday thing. Yes, it was still bad.
Yeah. But it wasn't as bad. I see what you're saying.
It wasn't as bad. I don't condemn anything that they're doing or anything like that. But we also have to take in fact that this is an imaginary story. They're showing you the brutality of these people and how terrible they are, and that this is not okay. It may be okay. I'm not saying they made it okay for that episode, but they're showing you why these people are bad.
Yeah.
And we already knew Ramsay was bad, so they really didn't need to mess up Sansa, because that did not happen in the books and probably will not happen ever in the books.
Right.
That scene will never take place.
Oof. That was a rough one. That was a rough one.
Do you want to bring up George R.R. Martin and some of his things that he's been saying about the season?
I'm sure I'll miss something. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting just listening to his comments. Like, for instance, the guy that looks like an Ice Darth Maul, or Ice Maul, if you want to call him that. They call him Night's King on the show. Book readers would know the Night's King was the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, who ended up falling in love, and then knowing one of the White Walkers, a female one, and then corrupted a bunch of his Night's Watch guys. Ended up being the King of the Wildlings, and the Stark in the north ended up joining forces and taking him out, erasing him from history. Well, anyways, George said that the Night's King, the person they're calling the Night's King on the show, is not the same Night's King he had in the books. So it'll be curious to see if they try and say it's the same guy as we learn more about him, or if it's just someone taking the role, just like there's the King in the North is a role, the Sea Lord of Bravos is a role. It's not a specific person, kind of like what Marvel's doing with Thor right now. How you have Odinson, who used to be Thor, and now someone is Thor, and I'm not going to spoil that if y'all don't follow it, because that's a big deal, I guess. But it's really interesting. So I want to know more about the others. I want to know more about the Night's King. He had a couple other comments I'm trying to think of right now.
I know he came out and said, these two, you're going to have to take these two stories as two stories, as two separate narratives going to the same thing.
Yep.
How many times have we, seen different translations of different, works of art that, they read different, but the same message and the same outcome is the same.
Good point.
So he's come out and he said that. So I think we need to be aware that, yes, things are going to be different. The book lovers are probably always going to love the books. TV lovers are going to love the TV.
Yeah, you're right.
Those who watch both,
It's still a good show. Don't get me wrong. I like this show quite a bit. Look forward to it every time.
But this season also, in retrospect to the books that it was covering, these were slow times.
Yeah,
we didn't get, too many action-packed, too many behind-the-scenes cutthroat. We were just now following these characters. And I think Winds of Winter will now take those characters and develop them into, back to what the other novels were.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a big work. He rewrote, 4 and 5 to make them the way they are.
And books 4 and 5 overlap, but mostly take place at the same time.
Correct.
Because it's the different POV characters.
Yep. So, final thoughts on Game of Thrones before we move on to Destiny.
Didn't have a lot of love for it beginning of the season. The Hardhome episode turned it around for me. And the Tyrion and Dany scenes where they're talking back and forth turned it around for me as well. And it's interesting that Hizdahr got stabbed a bunch of times. Because a lot of folks in the book think that he's the head Harpy guy. But now I'm thinking, even though the show is totally different, probably the Green Grace.
Might be. I mean, and I said this, and I still need to go back and watch the episode. I saw him get stabbed.
We didn't see him die, though.
We didn't see him die. We saw him on the ground, and I kept telling people, every time you see someone stabbed, you see blood like pouring out of them. I saw him get stabbed like 10 tims, and it just looked like nothing, like no blood was coming out or anything. So I think it might have been just a setup.
That's a good point, too.
So we'll hit in that. Like I said, Sunday on HBO, you can watch the season finale.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
And then is the season finale of one of my favorite shows, Silicon Valley, that night too?
Yes.
Okay. You guys should watch that as well.
So, Silicon Valley, awesome show. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that next time. Next up, we're going to talk about Destiny. The House of Wolves expansion came out about 2 weeks ago, and we've both been playing it.
True. I think it, shut a bunch of the naysayers down. Because I liked the other expansion. House of Wolves just came out. Dark Below is the old one. And Dark Below was good. It wasn't as great as it could have been, but a lot of people hated on it. And I think House of Wolves fixed a lot of problems. The Etheric Light thing is still kind of a strange deal for upgrading weapons and armor, but, it's not a game breaker.
They're making it better, I guess. I mean, especially with when Iron Banner was out, you got easy ways to get to Etheric Light. If you don't know what Etheric Light is, it's the upgrading tool to upgrade you to the max weapon and light level so that you can have 365 attack and 42 light, which can get you up to level
36 or 34. Yeah, you're
right. I think it's great. I like the Reef. I like Trials of Osiris. In essence, I'll get into my complaints about Trials of Osiris in a minute. Really enjoy Prison of Elders. Bounties are cool. I think we're kind of, getting rejuvenated back into Destiny.
Agreed.
I think maybe the one thing I don't like is that there's so many bounties.
Yeah, there are a lot of bounties.
I mean, you have bounties for the Queen, which is pretty much all we should do right now.
Yeah.
And you have Crucible and you have Vanguard still. But at that point, I'm maxed out on Vanguard marks, and I don't use them. I don't really go out and buy weapons to destroy. I have plenty of inventory items, except for the things that you can't, that are very limited.
Yeah, same boat. My main character, I legit ran out of vault space. I have so many crafting materials and all this garbage. So I'm trying to find a way to split them up and get some into my secondary warlock. And I miss my hunter. Like people hate on the hunters, but I did hunter as my main, and then I re-rolled the warlock as my second tune, and I keep trying to play the warlock as a hunter sometimes, and it doesn't work well. You got to remember different class, different abilities, different play styles. But I miss my hunter a lot.
Now I got to tell you about my beef with it.
With Trials of Osiris?
Trials of Osiris.
See, I haven't done it yet.
It's fun in the aspect that you can... I thought it was you had to do Crucible, and then they were just going to give you a random mark saying, hey, now you're so good now you can try Trials.
I think that was the initial plan.
And I think they should have stuck with that and left it as if you got a coin, you can go, and then you're matchmaking with other people who got coins. I think that would have been the smarter play.
With you.
The play currently, you can get one. Anyone can get one. And then you either have to have friends or you have to go online and try to find random people to play with you.
And LFG is such a pain in the butt.
Right.
I've never, it's very useful, and I'm glad they made it, and it's a great service. But in practice, I've never had it where this is going to be awkwardly stated, but it's always taken at least like a half hour to get the game started to find people. It's never been like boom, boom, go.
Right.
Which I think is a problem because some people don't have all day to play.
That's true. And, for things like Raid, Nightfall, Strikes, those aspects, I think it's fine to use that system. But for Trials of Osiris, it makes me so mad because you can try to find someone. They say, hey, I'm a level 34, blah, blah, blah.
Completely arbitrary. Yeah.
And they may have a level 34, but they might not be good.
It could be terrible.
Terrible.
I've played with a lot of terrible 34s and a lot of great 30s.
And then, you'll play, and it's so random of who you're going to play up against. You could have 3 level 34s or 3 level 30s, and they play differently.
Yep.
So it's the idea is good. I wish they probably would have stuck with their original plan of it. But, Iron Banner's my thing. I'm just going to shotgun people all day long.
Oh, I sit back and snipe or hit them with the thorn in the face.
I hate Thorn. It is a good weapon, but everyone uses it, and so it makes it a terrible weapon.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've seen a big uptick in Thorn users in the last month.
Now, did you know it shoots out darts?
Massive spikes, yeah.
Massive spikes. I watched a video the other day, and they were just shooting at rocks, and I was like, that is a giant spike.
It shoots about a 6-inch spike, and it's nasty, man. It's a 2-shot headshot gun. It's pretty legit. Yeah, I love Thorn. Ever since they nerfed all my Soros and my assault rifles, I had to go to hand cannons and snipers.
I'm a Red Death kind of guy. Red Death and Swordbreaker are my two weapons.
Thorn and Earfried Spear is my sniper from the Iron Banner. It's a beast.
But Red Death is really the only countermeasure to...
Yeah, or good scout rifles. Because all you got to do is you can outrange them. I mean, the Thorn has a crazy range, which I would agree to nerf. But you can out scout rifle them, you can out snipe them, no problem. Some shotguns. I mean, if you go up against a blink shotgun guy, you're probably going to lose.
But then you get into some Trials of Osiris maps where you can't snipe. Like, it's very difficult to snipe.
See, earlier you said you did the matchmaking. I would like the matchmaking for everything. Because worst case scenario, you could always leave. Although I guess with you can get banned from Trials if you back out too many times.
Right. That's why I like the idea of if you are decent enough in Crucible and the Destiny High Lords or whatever you want to say
RNG
say you should be granted a Trials power, pass. Then I would see, okay, now matchmaking. I feel like that aspect, I don't mind it not being matchmaking for what it is, because I really think too many people would be playing it, and everyone would have the Anubis head or whatever. But I would have liked it the other way around. I mean, I'm decent enough at Crucible that I think I would have got a couple of passages at least to give myself a better chance.
Yeah.
So, good?
Yeah, I like it. The only thing I haven't done Trials. I've done everything else. Maxed out Eris, maxed out the Queen's Wrath, did all that stuff. So now I just got to do Prison of Elders a bunch more and Trials.
Luckily, they've also done some updates since the initial launch where you could not get treasure keys to unlock vaults in Prison of Elders. It was very random, and you were never guaranteed. Now at least
you get a key a week.
You can at least get 1 key a week.
One key per character a week. You're guaranteed.
But if you, I think if you do 28 the first time of Prison of Elders, you also get a key that way too.
Oh, cool.
So
yeah, that's all I've been doing because I'm too lazy to jump on LFG because I don't have a lot of free time to wait all day, unfortunately, for people on 360. But if you're on 360 and you want to play the Space Bowman, Get at me. BAUMAN.
Thoughts about the next news of expansion?
Oh, that Fallen King business?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting. I'm curious about it. A lot of people are hating for various reasons.
I don't like how it's still speculation, but pretty much guaranteed that it's going to be another, what's the species that it's fallen? Oh, not fallen.
Was it the
Hive?
Hive?
It's going to be
because you're fighting Oryx. Crota's dead.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of pumped for that because Crota was a fun fight.
But I want to go up against the other guys that we haven't really.
We still haven't had a Cabal.
Or a Vex.
Yeah, Vault of Glass was Vex.
Oh, Vault, yes.
But I still think maybe Atheon wasn't a bad guy. I mean, there's a school of thought, and if you fool with the forums and whatnot, and you're a big nerd with too much free time like myself, in some aspects, not LFG, sadly. A lot of people think Atheon is like a kind of an outcast of the Vex, and even though he's doing his own thing, he's kind of a loose cannon. And if you take the Latin of Atheon, I believe it meant something like non-believer, atheist, and something else. So I want to know more about that. What's real crazy, and I'm going off on a tangent now, brace yourselves. If you read the Grimoire cards, or however you pronounce that, for the new expansion, there's some interesting tidbits. For instance, the Vex that's in the Prison of Elders volunteered to go. He was a rogue Vex. He volunteered to go with all the people that followed him. They're in the Prison of Elders voluntarily because he saw some vision in the time stream where he has to kill some Guardian and then all hell breaks loose. So I hope they go forward with that because the Vex aren't the prisoners. All the other ones are stuck in there.
I think they need to take these Glimlores,
Grimoire,
whatever they're called.
Yeah.
They need to turn that into a book.
Oh, man. I would buy the crap out of Destiny officially, not fan fiction, like official Destiny books, like they did with Vampire the Masquerade, did that years ago. Bungie's done it with Halo, I believe. There's a bunch of Halo books. The Witcher was actually started as a Danish book series way back, and they turned into a video game, which I just found that out like a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I'd buy the crap out of them. Even if it was a comic, maybe, but I don't have the patience to wait that long. I would buy books for sure, with all the lore and history and all the stuff that's already happened, and maybe some new stuff as it comes out. I would buy it.
Awesome.
Time to holler at Deej.
Yep.
Like, yo, Deej, let's get these books made.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for today. Normally we get into comic book news, but I think we went on a Game of Thrones tyrant for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably skip that this week. But just to let you guys know that next week is E3.
Oh, Microsoft's about to go ham.
I think so. I haven't really heard too much from, PlayStation. I mean, I think that Project Morpheus is going to be announced and things like that. But I'm really interested to see what Microsoft has in store. I'm really interested. I mean, Destiny is probably going to be there to, promote.
I think they're announcing the Fallen King then, because they said they're doing a big info drop.
Yep. Xbox is going to have theirs. PlayStation, of course, will have theirs as well. Nintendo will be present. I don't know if they're having I don't think they're having a conference. They didn't last year. They didn't have a live performance, I guess. Which I think is stupid.
I hope Blizzard drops the final announcement for the new StarCraft expansion.
That'll probably be BlizzardCon.
That's true. I just want the date.
They probably won't do that yet. Oh man, there's so many things. Hearthstone's awesome. I wanted to talk about Hearthstone today. That didn't happen. Heroes of the Storm we should have talked about. Man, there's so much things. Next time we'll probably just do a whole gaming series.
Yeah.
Go over E3, see what happened, our expectations, what we're going to be looking forward to. Talk about some of the games that have just recently come out, and do some of that kind of stuff. But I think this was a good episode.
Yeah, strong return.
Strong return.
Welcome back. Is that the exit music?
That is the exit. See you guys.